Good afternoon, and welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. Before I give you the page numbers, I want to take a moment to backtrack a little. It's very easy to become confused about the ego. And last week we read that you create an ego for yourself and you create an ego for everyone else. So does that mean that when someone else behaves badly, it is as though you are behaving them badly because you are the one who created their ego? Are you responsible for their bad behavior? And if they are exhibiting bad behavior, are you responsible for correcting it? And if you don't correct it, are you guilty for not correcting it? If you don't pay attention to the obvious, if you get too much into your head, it becomes very sticky and complex and complicated. So let's back way up. We're going to back up to the place where you said, "Father, I'd rather see things my way." We're going to back up to the place where you got your divorce from your father. At that point where you said, in so many words, I want to give the definition to this and to that and to everything else. And I'm not going to pay any attention to the meanings you, Father, have embodied in everything that I'm now going to give new definition to. As I said, in that act of separation, you lost your clear experience of your identity. You became an orphan, so to speak. And the way in which that was experienced was that as you gave definitions to everything, you realized, something is here giving these definitions. I must be someone in my own right. Well, who in the heck am I? And of course, you're still asking that question, aren't you? Who am I? As you began to formulate a definition of who you were as the author of new definitions of everything, you began formulating an ego, a definition of yourself. Each of you, as you did this, you might say, gave definitions to things in different orders from each other. Each of you moved away from the conscious experience of creation as God is being it in unique ways. And as a result, the body of definitions and the meanings you were giving them and how they related to each other became a unique complex of mental constructs, of ways of looking at things, and what things meant relative to each other. And so your formulation of your ego, your sense of yourself, is very, very individual, different from each other. Waking up, as I've said before, is a matter of retracing these steps that each of you took and undoing the definitions that you gave to everything, as well as the meanings, and as well as how all of these things that you gave definition to explain life in a larger context. The only ego that you have created is the one you developed as a result of your bill of divorcement from your father and your becoming an orphan. This is the only ego you can be responsible for undoing. You can only let go of, undo, dissolve that which you have created in your imagination. But now, we read that you also create an ego for everyone else. This is where it's helpful to be clear. Anyone else who is caught in an ego experience of being is caught in their own set of self-definitions that they created as a result of their bill of divorcement from the father. Just as we'll say when you were born, you brought your baggage with you into this life experience, each of you have brought your own well-formed baggage with you into this experience. And no other one in this experience is responsible for the suitcase and its contents that you have brought with you with tight fists. Now, if you have forgotten that you're connected to the Father, to God, if you have forgotten that you are divine being, and you think you are the definition you have of yourself, in which God and your divinity has been entirely forgotten, you are going to make a spontaneous assumption that what you believe about yourself is true about everyone else. And so you will form a picture about them in your mind, and a definition of them. And it will be absolutely colored by your own definition of yourself. In effect, you will, in your mind, create an ego for them, which, mind you, has very little to do with the ego they've created for themselves. It's purely your own creation, this ego that you see out there and that you talk about and that has characteristics that you're so sure of. And the fact is that you approach everyone on the basis of your definition of them, the picture you have of them. You approach them on that basis, and you respond to what they say on the basis of how that fits in with the picture you have of them. And so you're never responding to them. You're always responding to them coupled with the picture you have of them. And you think you're having communication. And actually they're doing the same thing with you. So you're not even connecting with their egos. Do you see what I'm saying? You're not connecting with who they divinely are, but you're also not connecting with them as an ego, the ego they see themselves to be. That's how complete the separation is. Now, loving people, I'm going to put it that way, people with whom it's easy to be, people with whom it's easy to grow, and I'm saying this humanly speaking, are people who are willing to sidestep the picture they have because they want to get to know you. And this happens in most semi-permanent and permanent relationships. In other words, there is a desire to connect with the ego that's there rather than the ego that you have pictured about them. And you all experience this kind of attention as pleasing and satisfying and fulfilling. You learn how to be vulnerable with each other, you say. How to be real. How to be together in an undefended way. But mind you, this is still you as an ego attempting to lower the barriers between you and another ego and find some harmony and some joy, some pleasure. But always at the bottom line, you are on guard. Because consciously or unconsciously, you know that your position as an orphan isn't true, and therefore everything you're doing at the bottom line isn't trustworthy, and therefore no one that you're trying to get to know and be undefended with is trustworthy either at the bottom line. And so, no matter how close you get, you still remain on guard, and there isn't really unity. There is a trap, you might say. There is a danger that you must watch for when you are studying the Course, especially the Course. Because it is your natural habit to take whatever you bring into your experience and incorporate it into your present sense of yourself. And so you try to incorporate it into your present ego sense of yourself, your private separated sense of self, so that you might become a better private separated sense of self. You don't realize that the function of the Course is to entirely invalidate your separated sense of self, not improve it. You don't realize that its function is to invalidate it so that you abandon it. Why? Or for what? In order to connect once again with the Divine One that you are, with your right mind, with the mind that you are that claims no separation from its source. The dangerous trap here is that it's very easy to begin to think that because, quote, you create an ego for another, unquote, that everything another is doing is a reflection of something you're doing. And this is not true. It's no more true of you than it is of me. Your ignorant behavior, I am not responsible for. Your decision to give definitions to things by yourself, I am not responsible for. And I'll tell you something else. Correcting you is not a responsibility of mine, which I've failed at for at least 2,000 years. It is not my responsibility to straighten you out because I have a poor perception of you. I am not creating you having a poor perception of yourself. But you know what? I am your brother. And that means you're my brother. So it's not a one-way street. I am your brother, and you are my brother or sister. We're siblings. We're family. And so, I speak up if you're willing to listen. Now those are key words. I speak up if you are willing to listen. Because I want you to experience your birthright as family. Because I don't want you to be suffering and hurting. I don't do it because I'm responsible for your suffering. And I don't do it because I'm responsible for seeing to it that you don't suffer any longer. I did not make your decision to get a divorce from the father. And I can't undo that decision. You must. And you must do it because something in you wants to, not because someone has told you to, or told you to so well that you were so inspired that you couldn't help yourself. So that you couldn't help yourself. Now, each one of you, like me, is responsible for abandoning the pictures you have created in your mind about each other. You do have the responsibility, if you want to wake up, if you want to experience more fulfillment in your life, you must undo and abandon the convictions you have in your mind about your brothers and sisters, about your fellow man, so that they do not stand in the way of your opportunity to recognize what they divinely are. And also, so that you have a better opportunity for communication, even at the level of egos. I'll tell you something. Kindness is kindness, whether it's expressed by one who's awake or one who sees himself as an ego. You can't alter what love is. You can't alter what kindness is. And so it is valuable to abandon the picture you have created about another that you hold between you and them like a sieve that only lets through that of them which matches the picture you have of them. It's well to abandon that. And it's well, humanly speaking, to practice kindness more and to be loving more. But that isn't the answer. That isn't the ultimate answer. The ultimate answer lies in everything that I've been saying since we started going through the course, everything I've been saying about you, that you are absolutely divine, that you aren't behind the point of perfection, you're not moving toward it, you are there right now, and that's where you need to comprehend yourself from, at that point. I am reminding you that you are more than you thought you were, so that it might really begin to register with you. Why? Because until it registers with you, you will not be able to conceive that it's true about your brother either. And you will not have the justification for being open to a fuller experience of the divinity of your brother. And you will not be able to recognize that your brother's flaws aren't real. Not actual, they're imagined and believed. And until you can see that, you will not be able to be an agent for change. Oh, now your ego grabs hold of that. Oh, so I am supposed to be an agent for change. I am supposed to help my brother. I am supposed to heal my brother. I am responsible for my brother, and I will be guilty if I don't, because I'm supposed to be an agent for change. No, you're supposed to be what I'm going to call an agent for confirmation. An agent for confirmation of what is true. An agent for confirmation of what is true is one who is no longer joining in confirming what isn't true. An agent for confirmation is one who doesn't confirm a brother's ego that brother thinks he has and is to him. You see? Because when you withdraw from participating in that kind of confirmation, you weaken the ego's game. And you weaken the ego's game, we're going to say, socially, with each other. As you disregard it, because you are giving preference to what is true about them. Now, I mentioned that I respond to you when you're ready to listen. The fact is that when you're not ready to listen, you don't listen, and so you don't hear. It's different in human relationships. And you must listen, you must learn to listen carefully. You must learn to observe carefully. And you must be willing not to abide in what you wish. I mean by that, don't abide in a picture you have of how you would like things to be. You must pay attention to recognize the signs of whether, when you're confronted by a call for help from a brother, that brother is really wanting to change, or whether the call for help is the first move in a competitive game of who's best, in a competitive game of struggle, because they like the experience of struggle. Especially if that other one knows that it's your nature to give the benefit of the doubt, that it's your nature to want to see the best in them, that it's your nature to not doubt them, that you are wanting to practice these things, because then they can just wind you around their finger and yank and make you uncomfortable and ask for more. Ask for more help so that they can resist it even more and increase the dynamic. And your spirituality must not be so airy-fairy that you don't want to look squarely at the behavior and the motive behind this other one's behavior. To try to be an agent for change for someone who does not want to change is foolish. And you know what? Your ego, and perhaps the ego of the other, says, oh, well, you're not practicing what you preach. Oh, you're not being very Christian, because you should be willing to hang in here with me. I know at least that much about the way you see things and what's important about you. And you're not being consistent with your very own standards. And they put the screw to you a little bit more and get you to feeling guilty and defensive. And then you really feel bad if you're not clear about what the ego is. Each one of you has to retrace your very own steps that you took away from your clear mind, your right mind. I can't do it for you. I don't try to do it for you. I don't imply that I will or can do it for you. I make it clear to you that this is something you have to do, and you have to do it for your own reasons. I don't chase after you and say you need to change your mind. And although that's not very satisfying to those who think they know what a real helper is and how a real helper ought to be, I am telling you that from moment one with you, I am telling you that the power is in your hands and your hands alone, and you have the capacity to retrace your steps. And that's empowering, because at all times I am acknowledging that the power lies with you to undo what you did. And let me tell you something else. You always have the capacity to undo what you did, because it's something you did. You can't be overwhelmed by a task that's bigger than you're capable of dealing with, because you're just undoing a step that you already took. Now, anyone who, for their own reasons, wants to remember what they divinely are and wants to wake up, I will speak to, and I will companion with consciously.